And so is this next guy who I've gotten to know over the last few years. He's a very special guy and travels throughout the country profusely. Former PGA professional golfer, was on the tour from, I believe, 1974 to 1984. He could tell you all that. But he's Wally Armstrong, and I have him on this morning for a couple of reasons. But first and foremost, he knows a little something about the Masters golf tournament, which is starting tomorrow, a few months late, by the way. It usually is in April. And he actually led the Masters at one point in time in his career. As a rookie, had the best finish of a rookie ever in the Masters. In the final round, he shot 68 to finish fifth, tie for fifth at the Masters tournament. He beat a couple of guys. In fact, he had the low score that day, except for Gary Player, who won, and also Tom Watson, and a couple other guys. Jack Nicklaus, some guy named Jack Nicklaus. I don't know about him, but anyway, Wally was a guy who shot 68 in the final day of the Masters, finished fifth, and he's here with us this morning on WSBA, and most importantly, a good friend. Good morning, Wally. How you doing, buddy?
Good to be on the show, Gary.
Well, it's always good to have you on. And you know, as you think about the Masters tomorrow in Augusta National, and, even for people that don't like golf, I often hear people say, I got to watch the Masters. There's something about that course, something about that place, Augusta National, knowing that Bobby Jones kind of created that whole thing. And for you, it's got to have some very special memories. Having been in that tournament, what's it like to be in the Masters, and what's it like to be in the running to win the thing?
Well, hard to believe, coming out of a little 9-hole country club out in the cornfields of Indiana, that had one sand trap and it was filled with dirt.
I think we might have you on speaker here. It's a little fuzzy right now, Wally. If you can get in there closer to the mic.
The was really special. I came out of a little 9-hole course in the cornfields of Indiana, and it had one sand trap filled with dirt. So it was a big change.
I can imagine. What do you remember about those four rounds at the Masters? I know at one point in time in the final round, I think you had four birdies in a row coming down the stretch. So I mean, you were quite in the middle of that whole thing that day.
That was just great. I think the real thrill was playing right behind Gary Player the last day, and having caddied for him when I was in college. Was a thrill to think about, wow, here I am, and I'm watching him win the Masters. Of course, he shot 6 under par on the back nine. I only shot 4 under. So,
yeah. Tough crowd you were playing with that day, too. 6 under par, you shot 64 for the final round. You shot 68. It's got to be thrilling. I mean, shooting 68, and yet you finish fifth. But you beat the likes of Jack Nicklaus and Lee Trevino and Seve Ballesteros, and all those guys were underneath the name of Wally Armstrong. That had to be a little bit of a waker-upper, right?
It was really, I think I was just in a trance the whole day. I was just thrilled to really trying to be sure I got in the top 24 to be invited back to next. And when I finished 13, and I was pretty secure if I just kind of could par in. The last, 5 holes are not that difficult. There's a few birdie holes. But when I made that 15-foot putt on 14 downhill, it could have rolled off the green if I missed the hole that went in the middle, and then fortunately birdied the next 3. So that was it was a dream come true for me to come down that last fairway, and also to stand in the fairway and watch Gary Player make a 20-footer to win.
Yeah.
So it was a thrill.
Well, tell us about, Augusta National. I don't think TV does it justice. And there are a lot of people that talk about you have to hit the certain, square foot areas sometimes to have the right shot at that course. And knowing the course, you were a rookie, and you went out there and you shot 8 under for 4 rounds. That kind of, brings out the very best, or maybe brings out the very worst in golfers sometimes.
Greens really make the course. There's no rough on the golf course. It's pretty wide open. But the greens have little terraces and little undulations in them, and if you miss short-sided, you have really nowhere to get it back on the green because they mow the fringes down. So if you get a ball trickling off the side, it's going to roll way down about 15, 20, 30 feet. And also the bunkers are really deep and steep lift. So I would say the greens and the bunkers really make it the challenge you can get on some of those greens, and you know there's just no way you can even get close with a 30 or 40 foot putt. You're just hoping you can keep it up on the top terrace or wherever the pin might be.
I'm going to ask you to get a little closer to your mic there or to your phone. We're kind of not picking you up as well as we might. But the Masters tomorrow, I mean, it's weird. For me, you know, I've watched it since I was a kid. It's strange that it's coming in November. No dogwoods blooming this time of year. None of that kind of stuff going on. What are your thoughts about holding the Masters in November?
I have no idea what it's going to look like, although I did have a chance to go up and play some practice rounds the fall before I played in the tournament. I had a good friend that was a member there, and he took me up for 3 days, and we stayed on the course and mapped the course out. Back then, you didn't have the yardage books or all the technological distances. You had to walk off the course by yourself from different sprinklers. I remember sketching all of the greens and all the undulations, and so I had a little book that I had to go by, my own yardage book, and so but the course this fall, who knows what it's going to be like. It may be really cold, it may be really rainy. I'm sure the greens are going to be as slick as ever, but it'll be interesting. I can't wait to watch it.
What is different about the game today than when you were a professional? I mean, as you watch it, obviously the equipment is incredibly different, but what are some of the things you've noticed?
I mean, yeah, just how far everyone hits the ball. When I was playing, the average drive was about 245 yards, and that was average. I like to tell people, you know, I played 340 tournaments, you know, hundreds of rounds with the best in the world, and I never saw one player ever hit it over 300 yards, ever.
Wow.
Unless it was downwind and downhill, you know.
Right.
So it's now they're averaging 290 to 300. So it's a big difference, especially on that course. But they've made it so long now. They've tried to back it up another 30, 40 yards each hole, but they've run out of real estate to do that. Some of the holes are backed right up against the fences on some of them for their tee shots.
Wally Armstrong, a former professional golfer, played in over 340 some odd tournaments, including the Masters, where he finished fifth in 1978. But Wally also is a teacher of great note, and he's also a Christian. And you had an experience at the Masters, Wally, back in 2004 that's worth acknowledging because you saw Jesus there, didn't you?
Well, it was really interesting. I was out spectating, and I came around behind the 18th green, and I saw a very handsome man talking to Ben Crenshaw, just a spectator, and there was a bunch of people pointing at this guy. There must have been 20 people forming a ring around Ben, and I said, "Who is this guy?" And a guy says, "That's Jesus, don't you know?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, that's Jim Caviezel. He played Jesus in the Passion of Christ this winter,
right?
And he was out there promoting the Bobby Jones movie. So here was Jesus in the flesh, but he was dressed like everyone else. You know, he was a spectator, and that was just an amazing picture for me to see." Jesus talking to Crenshaw just face to face, and I realized, you know, that was one of the things that was really missing in my own life. Is I knew everything about Jesus, but I didn't realize he just was real, and I could talk to him in that way, just as a friend, you know.
Yeah, and you talk to a lot of people about taking that, and obviously Jim Caviezel is not Jesus, but the idea that, you know, when you make a personal kind of communication back and forth on a daily basis, and you've written that in some of your books that you've had. It's such an unbelievable relationship that you could have there, right?
Yeah, after 34 years of being a Christian, I realized that you know, I was just kind of a religious kind of guy, but that experience I had really changed and transformed my life, and it became so real. I wrote a book on practicing the presence of Jesus.
Yep.
That shares that experience, and then how I got there, my journey of kind of struggling with Jesus as a Christian, and never really feeling good enough to really have any personal touch like that.
One of the books that has become so popular around the country, and very seldom I'll say to someone, "Have you read the Mulligan?" They'll go, "Absolutely." It's like it's a must read. You wrote this book, The Mulligan. Tell people very quickly about that, and we also want to tell them a little bit about the project that's going on. I believe it's going to come out this next year with a movie.
Yes, we're gonna film the movie on the book, The Mulligan. The book was written by Ken Blanchard and I, and it's really a wonderful novel about a corporate man and an old pro. And the corporate man needs a second chance in his life, and the old pro uses the golf sport as an analogy to life, and talks about where do you find your significance in life, and more importantly, it talks about that we can all have a second chance that God offers us, and that's through a relationship with his son, Jesus. And it talks about Jesus actually in the Bible being the second Adam, the second chance for mankind. But the book's a great read, and if anyone would like to get one, they can just email me at wallyarmstrong@gmail, and I can get them some information, even on the Practicing the Presence of Jesus book. They're available. But the movie's going to be great, and I can't wait to get up and watch them film it.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And I'll tell you, if you've never read the book, The Mulligan, it's a small book. It's not terribly long. It doesn't take you a long time, but you won't want to put it down once you start, which is the way I did. I've read it about 3 or 4 or 5 times now, and there's one great part in there where this corporate guy is playing golf in a pro-am with Davis Love, and breaks his club over his knee at the end of the 9th hole. He wants so much to impress Davis Love, and Davis Love on the way to the next hole looks at him and says, you're not that good to get that mad. And it's one of the great lines that you constantly think about as a golfer after reading that. Final thoughts, Wally, on where you're at in life right now, thinking about the Masters tomorrow, looking forward to watching that, and what we can all do.
Well, just enjoy the round. I'm just getting ready to play golf here at Isleworth. The drive out here is Payne Stewart Drive, and the other thing I'm working on, Gary, is with the Payne Stewart golf camps, and I'm meeting with a board here, and we're going to put camps together for little kids held right at churches and YMCAs.
Wow.
And that's the PayneStewartGolfCamps.com. If people want to find out about the camps for their kids, that's the way to do it.
Wally, talk about giving back, man. You've been doing it for a long time. Thank you so much in so many ways. And enjoy your round at Isleworth today. Hope you can I'm sure you'll shoot better than your age, because I know how good you are. So thank you, my friend.
I'm not playing the Tiger tees, that's for sure.
Yeah, no. We stopped that a long time ago. Yeah. Take care, my friend. Hope to see you soon.
God bless you, Gary.
Take care. Thanks so much. Wally Armstrong with us here on WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton, getting ready to play a round at Isleworth, one of the great golf courses of the country down in Florida.